T-Sply.
Alrighty, if you are watching this video, this is a posted live stream video, and like I always say at all of the beginning of my videos, make sure to please like this video, turn on your notifications.
Go over to
maybe
T-Sply and
make
like
sure to please
T-Sply.
like the live stream, helps out. Tomorrow's live show in the morning, I'm going to go through all of the reactions. So as of right now, I'm compiling a bunch of arguments, reactions. We even have lawmakers on the floor like using Don Lemon for some of their talking points, just to give you an idea of what's going on. So here's a very quick video.
Make no mistake, under President Trump's leadership and this administration, you have the right to worship freely and safely. And if I haven't been clear already, if you violate that sacred right, we are coming after you.
Oh boy.
And that's all Pam Bondi posted as far as
Why
the
is she
response.
so cringe?
And it wasn't only Don Lemon who was arrested, by the way.
It just feels like when you're watching the left and seeing how performative they are, it feels like the same thing out of her. I don't know why, but maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I get. That's the gut feeling I get out of her. And she hasn't had the best record up to date. So
there are others, but of course Don Lemon is the highest profile. Now, we already have the two counts. Count one, conspiracy against right of religious freedom at a...
Yeah, and Don Lemon, when he's all getting up in his face. Don't push me. You're leaning in toward me, bro.
Place of worship. Count two, face act, injure immediate, and interfere with exercise of right of religious freedom
Don,
at a place of
you're
worship.
a piece of shit. You really are.
And we have the full indictment, so I've been very curious to see what this is all about.
10 years, though.
So yeah, again, if you are joining, make sure to please like this stream. Helps out a ton, and also helps the
feel
other
like we should make a wager.
subscribers see what's going on.
Feel like we should make a wager on how long he's actually going to get.
As we were already live this morning, a little bit of a surprise stream.
He's got the class working for him, so it's kind of like, I don't know. A year? With good behavior type thing, because you're not going to get much less than that, I don't think, from a 10, like an up to 10 year. I don't think you're going to get anything less than a year. I guess we'll see. I don't know enough about the law, so I guess we'll see. Time will only tell.
Okay, here we go. So this is the indictment documents.
Still a long time. You're in prison.
Introductory allegations, and let me know what you guys think about this. At all times relevant to this indictment, the city's church is a Christian house of worship located in St. Paul, Minnesota. On the morning of Sunday, January 18th, 2026, at approximately 10:30 a.m., the church's pastor was leading the congregation in a liturgical service. In that service, the church's pastor and congregation were then exercising and seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. A right that is also protected by federal statute codified at Title 18 United States Code Section 248. After the service commenced, a group of approximately 20 to 40 agitators, including all the defendants named in this indictment, entered the church in a coordinated takeover style attack. They're calling it an attack. And engaged in acts of oppression, intimidation, threats, interference, and physical obstruction alleged hereon. As a result of defendants' conduct, the pastor and congregation were forced to terminate the church's worship service. Congregants fled the church's building out of fear for their safety. Other congregants took steps to implement an emergency plan, and young children were left to wonder, as one child put it, if their parents were going to die.
Oh, God.
Very serious stuff here, people.
I was thinking more along the lines of, what the is going on, man?
Against right of religious freedom.
Who are these crazy asses? Why are these all crazy adults coming in?
The allegations set forth above in paragraphs 1 through 4 of this indictment are relayed and incorporated hereon by reference. Object of the conspiracy, beginning on an unknown date and continuing to on or about January 18, 2026, in the state of District of Minnesota, defendants, and then they name off all the defendants. But Don Ronaldo Lemon is on there. Conspired and agreed with one another and with other persons known and unknown to the grand jury to injure, oppress, threaten and intimidate multiple persons, including the clergy, staff, and congregants of the city's church, in the free exercise and enjoyment of the rights and privileges secured to them by the laws of the United States. And because of such persons having exercised such right, namely exercise of the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship, as secured by Title 18 United States Code Section 248C, all in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 241, conspiracy against rights. Dang. And I know a lot of you guys are asking, is this going to stick? Is anything going to happen? We'll just have to wait and see, and I will definitely be keeping you up to date with that. Section B, manner and means. In order to achieve the object of the conspiracy.
I bet you he's going to get one hell of a lawyer, and this might actually be a fight to get him in there. But I don't know. Yeah, I've been surprised before.
Defendants Armstrong and Allen together.
I wonder if it's going to be, yeah. This is Chewbacca.
With other persons unknown to the grand jury, organized the operation.
Why he's in the courtroom, it does
targeting the
not
church,
make sense.
Which they dubbed Operation Pull Up, and promoted it on the internet via Instagram accounts. All defendants met at a shopping center, which, by the way, this goes to show they did their research. This was not just thrown together. I'm seeing some rhetoric out there that, like the Trump admin, they were just trying to go after people. Just by reading this, it looks like they have a lot more information than people realized. All defendants met at a shopping center for a pre-op briefing, during which Armstrong and Allen advised other co-conspirators.
Did he just say Trump was just going after people? That's what the narrative is? I mean, it was pretty obvious who to go after. You had all of it on tape. What more do you need? And yeah, okay. And let's be honest. If this was a bunch of right-wingers and they did that to a mosque, this would be all over front page news. And I don't even think I would see any Republicans actually thinking it was a good thing. So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It's too much in front of us for us to not be like, something has to happen from this.
Including defendants Kelly and Lemon, Lundy, Cruz, and Fort, and about the target of their operation. And
Kitty.
Provided instruction on how the operation would be conducted once they arrived at the church. Oh boy. Once at the church, all of the defendants entered the church to conduct a takeover-style attack and engage in various acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. Section C, overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy and to accomplish the object. Therefore, defendants Armstrong, Allen, Kelly, and Lemon, Lundy, Cruz, and Fort, and together with other persons known and unknown to the grand jury, committed various overt acts, including but not limited to the following. Overt Act 1. On or about January 17, 2026, defendant Armstrong posted a flyer on 2 Instagram accounts controlled by her. Here's her handle, and here's the other handle, advertising an anti-ICE action dubbed Operation Pull-Up, telling fellow agitators where to meet to prepare for the operation, and exhorting them to be ready to mobilize. ICE refers to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Over Act number 2, on or about January 17th, defendant Allen posted a similar flyer on her personal Instagram account. Over Act 3, on the morning of January 18th, all of the named defendants gathered with approximately 20 to 30 other co-conspirators for a pre-operations briefing led by defendants Armstrong and Allen at the parking lot of Cub Foods at 1440 University Ave in St. Paul. Over Act 4, at the pre-operation briefing, defendants Armstrong and Allen advised other co-conspirators, including defendants Kelly and Lemon. Now, if I remember correctly, and you guys can fact-check this on me, for me, I'm almost positive Lemon was like sort of indicating, he just showed up to the church or knew that there were protests and he happened to be there. What this is stating is kind of contrary to that, if I am correct in that reporting. Lundy, Cruz, and Fort, and about the target of their operation, and provided instruction on how the operation would be conducted once they arrived at the church.
Well, I guess you would have to prove Act 4. because yeah, we saw him meet up with them and he was buying them coffee, but that's not exactly the smoking gun that you need to say that he was advised. Uh that's tough. Do you have that on tape? That would be a start. They probably do. They had everything else on tape, so why not that?
We're seeing a lot of pre-planning.
All of this is so
On the
stupid.
morning of January 18, 2026, Defendant Lemon began live streaming on his internet-based show, The Don Lemon Show, where he explained to his audience that he was in Minnesota with an organization that was gearing up for a resistance operation against the federal government, immigration policies, and he took steps to maintain operational secrecy by reminding certain co-conspirators to not disclose the target of the operation and stepped away momentarily so his mic would not accidentally divulge certain portions of the planning. Man, these are big, big accusations and alleged findings from the DOJ. And again, I'm almost positive that whole live stream is still up, by the way, on Don Lemon's YouTube. And so, after reading this, if you guys want to go fact check everything, I guess you could do that. And again, it is great to see all of you. Make sure you guys please like the video. Make sure to please subscribe. And
did he really say that? I'm jumping ahead looking at Act 7.
This is sort of
we'll
a
get to
random
second,
live stream I decided to do. Tomorrow morning, we will go into more detail as far as the possibility of government shutdown. A lot more reactions. Again, we have lawmakers reacting to this. During a discussion with Defendant Armstrong at the pre-op briefing, Defendant Lemon thanked Defendant Armstrong for what she was doing and assured her that he was not saying what's going on.
What's going on?
Defendant Armstrong explained that Operation Pull-Up was a clandestine operation in which she and other agitators would show up somewhere that is a key location where the targets don't expect us, and we disrupt business as usual. That's what we're about to go do right now. And Defendant Lemon said he would see her there. Before heading to the church to join his co-conspirators, Defendant Lemon advised his live stream audience that we're going to head to the operation. Again, we're not going to give any of the information away, talking about operational details that would disclose where he and his co-conspirators were heading. Over Act 8, at the pre-op briefing, Defendants Allen led other co-conspirators in chants that they would use at the church, including, "This is what community looks like," and ICE out of Minnesota urged her co-conspirators that they have a duty to fight for our freedom and a duty to win, and as the group prepared to head towards the church, directed her co-conspirators to stay bumper to bumper, make sure everybody gets through the light, and confirm that everyone had the address. Wow. I go live every morning at 10:45 Eastern. 10:45 Eastern for those of you who want to check out the live streams. At the pre-op briefing, Defendant Armstrong provided instruction and operational guidance to her co-conspirators, including the following.
Liar.
The first wave of agitators should enter the church essentially in an undercover capacity and position themselves around the church sanctuary. They should not sit together and should not wear anything that is activist identifying. And those who had anything activism identifying should wait and come in with the second wave. Continuing on the morning of January 18th, all of the defendants got in vehicles and traveled
Wait, hold on, what?
To the church to engage and should not wear anything that is activist identifying. 10:45 Eastern for those of you who want to check out the live streams.
Pre-op briefing.
At the pre-op briefing, Defendant Armstrong provided instruction and operational guidance to her co-conspirators, including the following. The first wave of agitators should enter the church essentially in an undercover capacity and position themselves around the church sanctuary. They should not sit together and should not wear anything that is activist identifying. And those who had anything activism identifying should wait and come in with the second wave.
See what we're talking about with the optics of the left? That's all it really is. It's just about optics, because they know it would look too aggressive for their image if they go in there guns a-blazing with activism. So they have to be like, well, just hold off, and then we'll get to the activism afterwards once they're a little more accepting of us. And it's like you're still doing it by force, and your end goal is still to bring in the activism. So it's all about the optics and the image.
Continuing on the morning of January 18th, all of the defendants got in vehicles and traveled with their co-conspirators to the church to engage in the planned takeover-style operation. While en route to the church, defendants, redacted, told defendant Lemon that they had to catch up to the others, and defendant Lemon replied, "Let's go catch up," and because he was still live streaming, Lemon instructed, redacted, and an unidentified male, "Don't give anything away," and advised his audience, "We can't say too much, we don't want to give it up." Somebody said, "I checked his YouTube and did not see the video." Okay. At some point I can go check, but last time I knew, it was up there for a while. Continuing on the morning of January 18th, all of the defendants together with other co-conspirators entered the church sanctuary, with the first wave positioning themselves among the congregants, and the second wave, led by defendants Armstrong and Allen, commencing the disruptive takeover operation, in which the first wave of agitators then actively joined. As the pastor was beginning his sermon, defendant Armstrong interrupted the service with loud declarations about the church harboring a director of ICE, and indicating that the time for judgment had come. And other co-conspirators immediately joined in by yelling and blowing whistles in a takeover attack on the church, all of which quickly caused the situation in the church to become chaotic, menacing, and traumatizing to church members. While inside the church,
Hands up, don't shoot. Man, you guys didn't get the memo from 10 years ago when that was debunked.
Defendants Armstrong, Allen, Kelly, Lundy, Cruz, and others led and or joined the co-conspirators in various chants, including ICE out. And I do remember hearing that and seeing that on a live stream. We kept hearing the ICE out, hands up, don't shoot, and stand up, fight back, while gesturing in an aggressive and hostile manner, which congregants and the pastor perceived as threats of violence and a potential prelude to a mass shooting. And remember, this is the indictment, the allegation. So you are not guilty, but this is the argumentation the DOJ is using.
You know, and I was kind of like, I didn't take it that seriously when I heard like the kids were like traumatized from it, and it's like, yeah, it was probably a little scary to the kids, but if I'm gonna be real, it probably wasn't. They're probably just like, what the hell's going on? But I don't know, for how much chaos they're seeing outside and they're hearing about people getting shot and stuff, they probably were scared as hell.
While inside the church, defendants Armstrong, Allen, Kelly, and Lemon, Lundy, Cruz, Fort, and redacted, oppressed, threatened, and intimidated the church's congregants and pastor by physically occupying most of the main aisle and rows of chairs near the front of the church, engaging in menacing and threatening behavior. For some, chanting and yelling loudly at the pastor and congregants, and or physically obstructing them as they attempted to exit and or move about within the church. While inside the church, defendants redacted stood with other agitators in and around the main aisle in the church to intimidate the church members and obstruct and interfere with their freedom of movement, approach the pastor and congregants in a menacing manner, and near the end of the operation loudly berated the pastor with questions about Christian nationalism and Christians wanting to have their faith be the law of the land. While inside the church, defendant Lundy personally participated in the disruptive takeover operation with other defendants by standing in the main aisle with the others and contributing to the physical obstruction and intimidation of the congregants, participating loudly in some of the chants. One saying that the targeted ICE agent must be out, and punching his fist in the air.
What the heck?
Now keep in mind what we do know
Oh,
is that
guy.
the pastor
What did I fall into?
associated with ICE was not there. I think you guys know that by now. While inside the church, defendant Cruz personally participated in a disruptive takeover operation with the other defendants by standing in and around the main aisle with the others and contributing to the physical obstruction
Blind right
and
now.
intimidation of the congregants and participating in some of the chants. Number 19. While inside the church, defendant Kelly disrupted the service by chanting, "This ain't God's house. This is the house of the devil." Approached one female congregant
Who said that?
Two young children and demanded to know in a hostile manner why she was not involved in and support of the takeover operation, and screamed Nazi in congregants' faces and asked
Of course they did.
child congregants,
Well, that's just
"Do you know
normal.
your parents are Nazis? They're going to burn in hell."
Jesus Christ.
Okay, number 20, defendant Lemon told his live stream audience about congregants leaving the church and about a young man who Lemon could see was frightened, scared, and crying. And Lemon observed that the congregants' reactions were understandable because the experience was traumatic and uncomfortable, which he said was the purpose. As the
Yikes.
operation continued, defendant Lemon acknowledged the nature of it by expressing surprise that the police hadn't yet arrived at the church and admitted knowing that the whole point of the operation is to disrupt. While the takeover operation was underway, defendant Lemon asked defendant Armstrong, who is the person that we should talk to? Is there a pastor or something? And she pointed toward the front of the church, but noted the pastor might have run away. 23. With the other co-conspirators standing nearby, defendants Lemon and Fort approached the pastor and largely surrounded him. To his front and both sides, stood in close proximity to the pastor in an attempt to oppress and intimidate him and physically obstruct his freedom of movement, while Lemon peppered him with questions to promote the operation's message. And yeah, I think you guys have actually seen that interview. That is when the pastor was saying, you know, everybody is welcome in the house of the Lord, but you're not welcome if you're going to do this, and we're actually going to ask that you guys leave. Now, again, a lot of this has to do with interpretation. Don Lemon's interpretation, their lawyer's interpretation, and the DOJ's interpretation, and obviously how you guys feel about it. While talking, and again, I'm sure you guys are already seeing if you're on social media, a lot of people are not happy Don Lemon was arrested. And tomorrow morning, I promise I'm already preparing that show. There's a lot of reactions. While talking with the pastor, defendant Lemon stood so close to the pastor that Lemon caused the pastor's right hand to graze Lemon, who then admonished the pastor, "Please don't push me." I think we actually watched that on today's
He's
live
such a
show.
douche.
Although the pastor told defendant Lemon and the others to leave the church, defendant Lemon and the other defendants ignored
not
the pastor's
nighttime.
request and did not immediately leave the church. After causing most of the congregants to flee, some of the defendants and other agitators engaged in chant proclaiming, "Who shut this down? Who shut this down?" As one congregant reported to responding police officers, some of the agitators blocked the stairs leading to the church's children area and made it difficult and hazardous for parents to retrieve their children, causing some to take alternate routes in or around the church. At one point, defendant Lemon posted himself at the main door of the church where he confronted some congregants and physically obstructed them as they tried to exit the church building to challenge them with facts about U.S. immigration policy.
No.
And remember,
I didn't know that detail. I was just rolling with the detail that the pastor told him to leave, but I think this makes it a lot worse. I think that made it much worse for him. The fact that he physically obstructed them from leaving, and then that's basically detaining somebody against their will. Yeah, that's rough, Don. Oh man, you might have been okay up until the last couple things.
the church's position about all of this,
I almost got away with it if it weren't for the meddling MAGA kids.
They did see this as an attack. They did see this as obstruction, and they saw this as a very bad thing. We have statements from the church. As a minivan full of children were preparing to depart from the church, defendant Kelly walked in front of the minivan and angrily yelled at the occupants and defendants. Armstrong and Fort stood in front of the minivan while Fort interviewed Armstrong. Count 2. This is for all the defendants. 18 USC 248. Injure, intimidate, and interfere with exercise of right of religious freedom at place of worship. The allegations set forth above in paragraphs 1 through 8 of this indictment are released and incorporated hereon by reference. All the people.
Don Ronaldo Lemon.
And Lemon is in here.
It's a sweet name.
Each aiding and abetting one another and together with other persons known and unknown to the grand jury by use of force, threat of force, and physical obstruction intentionally injured and intimidated and interfered with and attempted to injure, intimidate, and interfere with multiple persons, including the church's congregants, clergy, and staff, who were then lawfully exercising and seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship, which could result in bodily injury to one of the congregants. All right. What do you guys think? That
I'd
is
say-
the indictment. Those are
I'd say he messed up pretty hard because there was more details in there that I didn't know about. So, oof, and especially if you're on tape doing some of that stuff. And if you, I think it was, yeah, one of the first acts was like we were talking about. If they can actually prove, what was it, Act 4? Yeah, advised. Basically, if Lemon had known that they were going to go in there and do that, I think that makes him a participant. I could be wrong, but in my eyes, that pretty much solidifies it right there. So, I think he might be doing a little bit of time here. But then again, like I said, his class is up there, so that'll work for him. He's going to get a good lawyer, and if he gets away with it, then it'll probably be a controversy. But also, if he goes to jail, it probably will be, I'm guessing, a year. That's where I'm going to put my wager, which it will be kind of funny. And he'll probably get some sort of nice luxury suite bunk somewhere in some prison that's away from Gen Pop. So in all honesty, it's like, I don't even think it's going to be that big of a deal. They'll probably make it like a big deal, like he's doing hard time, but no, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Because, I mean, they did arrest Jesse Smollett, so it's like, I know this isn't really the same situation, but it seems like the same level of, class. They're not a politician, but they're a celebrity. Don Lemon is a journal. No, not really anymore, but he was in the world of journalism and reporting, and so you can basically classify him as a celebrity now. So because he's not doing that anymore, he's not doing the journalism. He's resorted to this, obviously looking for some sort of attention. And yeah, he got it. I don't know if this is what he was expecting to happen in the end, but don't do stupid shit, Don. Don't do stupid shit.